good.
This is what you're supposed to do,
It's
right?
really getting you into the flow. You're starting to stretch out before the show now.
Okay.
That's a good. I think it's a good way to start.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Bob Herzog.
And I'm meteorologist Tara Blake. Jen is off today, and she's going to be off throughout the rest of this week. So you get me.
Now, one of the reasons we were stretching, and I know we're going to do weather later, but one of the reasons we were stretching is I said to her before we started, I said, if I'm going to go run, I know I've got to do it as soon as we're finished today, because it's just going to get that kind of feel, right?
It's going to be real sticky.
Yeah.
We were talking about Bob and his obsessive sweating. And
It's not
how
obsessive, like I'm glad it happens.
It's dangerous for you.
Oh.
The amount of liquid that you can
I will
lose.
sweat out. Like if I don't hydrate right, like sometimes I'll start to run, I'm like, why don't we go a little further today, big guy?
I'm feeling loose.
And then I'll be like a half mile and I'm like, that was a terrible choice. And I
can't breathe now.
It's not great. And you feel like you're just in soup. And who wants to run in soup?
It's going to be better by Thursday.
Right?
So just take a break.
Because there's a cold front, right? It's a front.
Look at you. The blue thing you see in the sky.
I listen to things that you say.
That
I listen to your words.
That comes through the sky.
Yeah. Big old thing. It's a big blue thing. You're like, here comes the front.
Oh, there's the front.
Hey, she's going to talk about that later, but for now, let's see what's brewing in the tri-state.
Beyond our sweat.
Yes, beyond our sweat and the humidity.
All right, people across the country are learning via email. This is tough.
Yeah.
That they have things like Alzheimer's and cancer and HIV and other devastating medical news. We heard about this first from David Winter. He brought this to our attention last week, and a local woman learned of this exact thing, a cancer diagnosis, through her MyChart.
And this is a tough thing to talk about, but I wanted to talk about it because I've had conversations about this with my own family. So after learning about her story, we found out it was because of an unintended consequence of the 21st Century Cures Act, which requires the immediate release of all health information to patients. But, and I didn't know this, California and Kentucky require a temporary hold on records that could have life-altering implications. Dr. Susan Arnold pushed for this 72-hour hold to prevent the potential deadly implications of immediately receiving results.
So what would be the worst case scenario should someone get immediate electronic results that they had an inclination towards Alzheimer's, HIV, terminal cancer?
We had a patient here who got that news and we believe took their own life. So that's the worst case scenario, and it's devastating to even think about it.
Now, Dr. Arnold says the Kentucky law only holds the lab results long enough for a doctor to reach out and deliver the news with compassion and context and a plan for treatment. After 72 hours, though, one way or the other, the information is released. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this, and I usually here we keep things very light and fun and whatever, but there are also things that I just think are important to talk about. This is one of them because, and I've never had a situation where I've gotten, a piece of drastic, life-altering, devastating kind of news like that. But you'll get, like, say, your blood test results come back. And, like, sometimes you'll get a full panel with all kinds of numbers and references to different, things in your body. And then you sit there and you get them, and maybe it's 0.02 outside of the optimal range. And then you're Googling everywhere to find out, oh my gosh, is 0.02 outside of my normal hemoglobin, whatever, I'm making that up. But, whatever range. Is that bad? How bad is it? Do I have to be worried?
What is this a sign of?
Correct. Just because you haven't heard from your doctor yet, through no fault of their own. I mean, they got lots of patients and lots of test results come in and all of that kind of thing. So as someone who lives in Ohio, I thought it was really interesting that in Kentucky, they do have that. They do have that weight. Have you had any experience with that, where you've seen things maybe before you wanted to see things?
Well, I'm in Kentucky, so I personally, but I feel like sometimes you're forgotten about.
Yeah.
But now you realize there's a reason why you feel that lull. It's because they are protecting you. So I think there is a necessary, because how often do you get information when you're in a doctor's office and you are just struck, right? All the negative things come to mind, where a doctor can put it into perspective.
Correct.
This is okay. I've seen this 1,000 times. You're going to be fine, but we have to do this, this, and this. That's not the same as seeing it on a piece of paper.
No,
that's terrifying.
How many times before you go to the doctor, before you even get a test, do you start Googling symptoms?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, well, I'm dead. I've got this disease, that disease, and the other disease. And full disclosure, this is coming from a doctor's kid. My dad, God rest his soul. But I have great faith in the doctors that I've always had. I've been very fortunate. I know not everybody's experience is the same, and I get that. But there's a reason doctors go to school for the length of time they go to school and the amount of study they put in, because there are so many different things they have to look at or should be looking at, or hopefully if we have a really good doctor, are looking at all these different things. And to be able to have a conversation instead of you as a layperson trying to determine what all of that means is really hard, because you can get yourself down a Google rabbit hole really quick.
For sure.
And in your head start having all kinds of, which is what that doctor spoke to, that Dr. Arnold spoke to. You can spiral pretty quick if you allow yourself to.
Place, yeah. And your family could do the same.
Yeah, correct. And I just wonder how many other states like Kentucky, like California, are even considering these things. And it sounds like a lot of doctors kind of hope they do.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's one to watch.
All right, well, a piece of river history is going to potentially be finding a permanent home here in our local community.
Yeah, New Richmond was told that it is at least being considered as a permanent home for the American Queen riverboat. The company that operated the historic ship declared bankruptcy, and there were reports it was headed for the scrap heap. It's said to be the largest river steamboat ever built. The owner apparently decided to donate the paddle wheeler to a community. New Richmond leaders are asking everyone to write emails in support of the village to the customer service department at American Cruise Lines. It's really curious, because New Richmond, I love New Richmond. It's a great little river town.
Yeah.
But if you think about some of the things that have gone on down there at the river recently, because the Showboat Majestic was down there for a little while.
Right.
Things didn't, for
pan out as
reasons that I don't think anyone really knows for sure, didn't work out.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's Doc Simmer down in Maysville now. Skipper's River Cafe.
Okay.
It was in New Richmond.
Memory. Yeah.
Now it's down in Maysville as well, and I don't think they've opened yet. If I'm wrong about that, somebody correct me. But it's not there anymore. And then we just recently had a story about some grant I think they got in New Richmond to build something they hope will be kind of like Smale Riverfront Park. They want to call it Liberty Landing, because when Skipper's left, that was their only big boat dock there. So you've got all of these really sort of...
Well, maybe they're trying to tie into that.
But
hoping to.
Good and bad things that have happened along the river. The Showboat thing didn't work out. Skipper's leaves. But now maybe Liberty Landing.
Yeah.
Now maybe the American Queen riverboat. It's sort of curious.
And that riverboat has a lot of tales to tell.
Yeah.
From Louisiana, a ton of history.
And what would they do? Would it just sit? Would it be allowed to do tours? I have no idea the condition of the ship, but if the company who was running it declared bankruptcy, I don't know how often, if ever, it was sort of out on the open water again. I just don't know.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of stuff happening, both good and bad, I feel like, down along the riverfront in New Richmond. So I don't know what's going to happen.
We're going to have to watch.
Yeah, but I do know this. They'll have the cardboard boat regatta down there one way or the other. It doesn't matter what's going on down there with everything else. Eventually.
And those boats are also free.
And they take a lot of work. Did you ever see the time where John Gum started listing out to sea?
No.
So the Gummer was down there with me one year for the cardboard boat regatta. And so I was competing, and I use that term loosely, and they put him in, oddly enough, it was a card boat paddle wheeler.
Okay.
And the pedal mechanism, he didn't have like a paddle.
Yeah.
It broke. And so he just started drifting out to sea. And so I'm swimming out in the Ohio River to grab the Gummer and try to bring, and people were like throwing beer to Gummer in his boat. They're like, here, man! They're like throwing from their actual boats out to Gummer. Yeah, it was quite a thing. There's always something going on down in New Richmond.
Yeah.
You ready for some sciencey stuff?
Yes.
Can I throw some science at you?
I'm actually pretty excited about this.
This is quite a thing. So the city of Cincinnati plans to use something new to fight pollution. The Business Courier reports the city will install so-called smog-eating pavement when crews overhaul Victory Parkway from Eden Park to William Howard Taft Road. It's a special additive. It's called TiO2, which is really just, it's sciencey. It's titanium dioxide. I looked at that. It's going to be applied to the new surface. And it will absorb-ish some of the emissions that come out of vehicle tailpipes. I had to learn right? Yeah, so
that sounds amazing.
I looked because I was really curious. So it's titanium dioxide, and when it reacts with UV rays, they call it photocatalytic pavement.
Okay.
And somehow
so it just captures it.
Yeah, and what it does, I guess,
does it contain it?
There are lots of is it nitrogen oxides, I guess, that are released from tailpipe, right? Stuff.
Okay.
And when there's some kind of chemical reaction that happens that turns those bad chemicals into nitrates, which will just kind of gather on the surface and wash away with the rain, and they just go and they're okay. Like they don't have nearly like they don't have any of the pollutant, side effects.
I want to know how they found this, because I am in the science world.
Right.
I am in the clean world.
I had never heard of this before.
And never heard of it.
Yeah. I don't know.
I love that they're stepping out, doing something that's innovative and
titanium dioxide.
It sounds like it's better, considerably better for the earth.
Well, and they say it'll help with and you can speak to this because I hear you and John talk about it a lot, the urban heat island effect, like that should help with that. Now explain what that is again, just so I understand. It's just
we have less grass, we have less ground to cool us.
Right.
And so you've got the cement which is holding on, and so it heats up the fastest. You'll notice that in the summer, rather than the ground is cool, and so that's a big difference. That's why cities are so hot.
And I guess this helps potentially with that as well.
Decrease those temperatures.
So I don't know if they'll see how it works along that stretch of Victory Parkway, and I guess if it works there,
everywhere.
maybe they'll kind of in future pavement projects.
Roads, so we never have to worry about ice around here.
Okay, this was years ago, but there was a story we did about a pavement, or not even a pavement, but some sort of road service that had interlocking, almost like solar cells, that would just keep the heat as you needed them.
Yes.
It never, I don't think, became cost efficient or anything, to use, but it was at least something they were talking about.
But it's worth it, especially right in front of our building,
right here,
where none of us can get to our job, even though we have to be here usually early.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun drive. You just have to build up a whole lot of speed as you come to that intersection and pray nobody else is going the other way.
Terrifying.
Yeah, so you're making it up the hill, or you're getting T-boned.
I hope our insurance companies are not watching.
That's all you got.
All right. Speaking of helping out the earth, 25 new electric school buses. This is cool. We're going to be in the roads in Cincinnati coming up this new school year.
Yeah, transportation company First Student and the Cincinnati Public School District were awarded more than $8.5 million in grants to buy the buses. The company already has 10 on the road. Provided this video, says the buses, they're quieter and they reduce fewer emissions, resulting in cleaner air. The goal is to electrify the entire bus fleet for the CPS district.
I am often behind buses, and the amount of smoke that comes out of that tailpipe. It's never pretty. So I love this idea. Well, the only thing is the amount of electricity that's going to be needed here.
Right. The power's still got to come from somewhere.
Yes. And all that electricity in one spot is not really good for the earth or for bodies. But this is an improvement.
I was going to say, you run the numbers. Is it better is it gas powered, or whatever the electric plant runs on, which I don't know if it's coal or whatever. You know what I mean? So there's always a trade-off, and you're just looking.
There's a big fight right now.
You're
Which one?
You're looking for the best. You're looking for the best deal, right? You're looking for the best deal. That's what you do. Hey, speaking of looking for deals, it looks like the Tri-State will be getting a second Publix store.
Ooh, the Business Courier is reporting the grocery chain has purchased space in the Farmview Commons area, a new development at US 42 and Farmview Road in Boone County. Now, these are the renderings that you're seeing for a 56,000 square foot grocery store. Publix officials are not commenting on the sale of this particular plan and land. Last November, the company announced it signed a lease for its first Boone County store at Triple Crown Boulevard and Richwood Road. Publix also has announced plans for a store in Cold Spring. So, do you know the obsession with Cold Spring?
No.
Or Cold Spring. We love Cold Spring, but the obsession with
Publix.
Yes.
Not really.
Okay, so they're supposed to be, I think it's something, their tagline, I wrote it down, like shopping is a pleasure or something. Like whenever are you in a grocery store feeling like it's a pleasure, especially right now.
Never in my life,
But people still say it. It's more of a southern thing, but they have these pub subs that people are obsessed with. They have a lot of BOGO deals, which make families really happy. I've never shopped one, and I've lived in the South.
I have, down in the Outer Banks, they have one that we'll hit, we go down there on vacation or something like that. I'm also a big fan of the Harris Teeter.
Me too, but that's expensive.
Harris Teeter's high class stuff when you're in there, boy, I'll tell you what.
But they have really good sandwiches and pizza and salads, and this place is supposed to be very similar.
Generally speaking, if I can keep from going to any grocery store for any reason, I do.
Do you get everything delivered?
So much.
Yeah, same.
So much.
Yeah.
Which is probably, again, we're killing the earth. That's my bad. But I don't want to go to the grocery store. But maybe
We're saving souls.
I'm not driving there. And the delivery truck was out already.
Exactly.
So maybe I love the earth. Maybe I'm healing it a little bit at the time. But I'm not a big, really the only time I genuinely find myself in the grocery store is when I'm buying flowers for my wife.
On the day of, let me tell you.
Well,
I know it.
They're fresher that way. Everybody wins.
Don't you usually get the chocolate covered strawberries?
Well, sometimes if they're
okay.
there.
You switch it up.
Yeah, well, I like to keep it fresh and
Just
exciting.
whatever's right at the front, right there usually.
Well,
so it's just like an in
that's
and out.
usually the high quality item. That's why they put it in the front.
I hope she's watching and feeling so loved.
She knows. It's been 25 years. She knows.
That's true.
She knows.
That is true. All right, so a local canine is retiring after 8 years of service.
Yeah, Local 12's Clay Markley visited the Amberley Village Police Department to share the impact the dog and his handler had on the community.
Hey, well, I'm here with Andrea All, and she's Creed's amazing handler. You're going to show us one of Creed's tasks right now, so let's see it.
Yeah, so one of Creed's tasks is he's trained in narcotic odor, and one of his narcotic hides is hidden in these cones, and we're going to show you what he does when he comes in contact with it. Creed, Sita. 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 Find Gifty. Find Gifty. Find Gifty. Here. Creed, check. 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 Good. Creed, check. See. So he's trained, once he comes in contact with the odor, he's not allowed to leave it, even though I try to get him to look for more stuff.
That's impressive.
Good boy.
Good job, Creed.
Yes, a good boy. Yeah.
Good job.
Yes,
so how
a good
often is
boy.
he doing this task? Is this like a daily task or just for special assignments?
We train for this, like I said, about 16 hours a month. We could sniff a vehicle for narcotics daily, depending on the needs of other departments and our departments, based on the traffic stops they make.
And of course, communities rely on canines like Creed. Of course, he is retiring in October. He's going to have an amazing replacement, though. Talk to us about that and just the role of canines, why we need them.
Yeah, his replacement is going to be huge. We're definitely going to miss him. The difference between his replacement and him is that he's trained in narcotic odor, and this next one is going to be an explosive dog. So it's going to be a huge impact on this community. We have a lot of synagogues in our jurisdiction, so we're going to provide a lot of security and a lot of explosive sweeps to them, so it's going to help them out a lot.
That's great. And of course, they also rely on equipment, like these ballistic vests we're seeing right here, but they can get really expensive. You guys do have an amazing nonprofit. Quickly tell us about its mission.
Sure, yeah, its mission is to raise as much money to provide these vests right here to as many dogs as we can, because we found a lot of departments cannot afford these vests. I'm lucky enough that my department gives me the stuff that I need, and we're fortunate that I can have this. But these vests run from $1,500 to $3,000, and we raise money to buy vests for other departments.
Wow, very expensive. But of course, such a need for these canines. And here's some of the merch. It's really adorable.
Yeah,
I love
so
it.
that-
You have
yeah.
shirts and stuffed animals and books. Thank you for all of that, Andrea. Remember, you guys can just go online, local12.com, to purchase some of this and support canines like Creed here. For now, back to you in the studio.
And we have a link at local12.com in the Get It section if you'd like to support Andrea and Creed's nonprofit. By the way, Creed is a TikTok star as well.
I didn't realize, yeah.
Yeah, like Creed official, something
his
on
career
TikTok.
is not over.
Oh no, Creed's got a lot to do.
He's got a lot
Creed's
to
got
do.
a lot to give. I like how he just sat down by that cone like, stuff's right here.
Yeah.
Stuff's right here. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not leaving. Stuff's right here.
It's amazing
Yeah, I know.
watching them.
And
And the fact that they train them to do that.
cool,
It's just like,
and that the
what?
new one's gonna be able to sniff out explosives.
Yeah.
Like crazy. I mean, obviously very good, but
That's
crazy
amazing.
at the same time. Sure, you could stop watching now, but let's be honest, you want to see more. So click some of those links, or better yet, go ahead and tap subscribe. That way you'll catch more content from Local 12.